May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be ever acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. Jesus told this story. There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen, and who feasted every day. And at his gate lay a poor man named Lazarus, covered with sores, who would gladly have eaten what fell from the rich man's table. The poor man died and was carried to heaven. The rich man also died and was buried. From hell he looked up and saw Abraham far away with Lazarus by his side. "Father Abraham, send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in agony in these flames." But Abraham said, "During your life, you received your good things, and Lazarus only had evil things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in agony." The rich man said, "Then I beg you to send him to my father's house to warn my 5 brothers, so that they will not suffer my fate." And Charles Dickens told this story. There was a rich man who hoarded his money and hated to spend even a penny. His name? Ebenezer Scrooge. He refused to give charity to anyone because he believed they should either fix their own problems or die trying. The man who worked for him sat in the cold and dark because Scrooge refused to let him buy coal. One Christmas Eve, as Ebenezer sat in his cold, dark house, he heard a terrifying noise, the sound of chains being dragged up the stairs. Soon, he saw the ghost of his dead business partner, Jacob Marley. Marley was chained to heavy account books and trunks filled with coins, and he had to drag them behind him wherever he went. Marley told Scrooge that it was the chains of the sins of greed, selfishness, and refusal to help others that he had forged his whole life long. Then Marley said that Ebenezer's own chains were 10 times as long, and he wasn't dead yet. Marley told Scrooge that he would be visited by 3 ghosts that night. One showed him his past, how he had gone from being a neglected boy to a greedy, selfish man. The next showed him how his employee, Bob Cratchit, was living in poverty with a crippled child. The last showed him his own grave and the terrifying things that awaited him when he died. Scrooge changed his life that night. He bought a Christmas dinner for Bob Cratchit's family. He made the working conditions in his office better, and he gave generously to the poor ever after. The rich man in Jesus' story had plenty of opportunities to help the poor beggar Lazarus, but he always walked by and did nothing to help him. Ebenezer Scrooge had plenty of opportunities to help Bob Cratchit and other poor people, but he always thought only of his own riches, and he refused. The rich man died and went to hell. Ebenezer Scrooge's life was like a living hell. The rich man asked Abraham to send someone to warn his brothers so that they would avoid his fate. Jacob Marley came on his own to warn Scrooge, and he sent 3 spirits to make his message crystal clear. Finally, the rich man's life was over, and he reaped what he sowed. And he didn't get another chance. Scrooge repented of his greed and selfishness, and he changed his life. My friends, Christmas is the time of year when we are filled with goodwill towards those around us. But it's also a good time to look around us and see who those people are for whom we have so much goodwill. Are they exactly like us in almost every way? Are they the same color skin? the same ancestry, the same religion, the same politics, the same opinions, attitudes, and prejudices? Because if they are, then having goodwill towards them is no challenge, and God knows that. The rich man passed by Lazarus several times every day, but he never stopped to help him or give him so much as a penny. It's like the beggar was invisible to him, or not worth looking at. Ebenezer Scrooge worked in the same office with Bob Cratchit every day for years, but he refused even a little heat to keep his employees' hands warm. He didn't care about Bob's comfort or conditions. How far from this church, this night, this holy season, would we have to look to find people for whom we don't have goodwill or any kind of will at all, because they are invisible to us or not worth looking at? Perhaps they are of another religion or from another country. Perhaps they voted the opposite way from us in the recent election. Perhaps they're poor, dirty, old, wearing shabby clothes or even rags. Perhaps they smell bad. Perhaps they are the kind of people we would cross the street to avoid walking past. Perhaps we are afraid they might rob or hurt us. Ebenezer Scrooge's eyes were opened by the 3 visitors who came that Christmas Eve, and it changed his life. 3 visitors came to Bethlehem bearing gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Not for a royal baby the crowds would flock to honor, but for the child of poor parents, born in a lowly stable. And that baby changed the whole world. Scrooge's experience that Christmas Eve opened his eyes to the people around him, and it taught him that he needed to love them and care about what happens to them. He said, "I will honor Christmas in my heart and keep it all the year." And so tonight, let each of us make the same process. May this Christmas bring each of us closer to those around us, those we know and love, those we care deeply about, and especially those who are outside our circle of comfort, of familiarity, of tolerance, of love. Merry Christmas, and God bless us, everyone. Amen.